Holy Soul Village, the home of the village elder Jack. Grandpa Jack, I've finished cleaning the dishes and chopsticks. I have an appointment with other children today. I want to tell them a story. I'm leaving now. A 6 or 7-year-old boy ran out of the kitchen, rubbing his wet hands on his clothes indiscriminately, and ran out of the yard. The appearance of the little boy is extremely delicate. He looks very well behaved. People who are not familiar with him will definitely love him the first time they see him. But those who are familiar with him know that this girl is a bear kid. In the old Jack's house on weekdays, he is really good. After washing and cooking, even chopping wood, doing all the work, that is called filial piety. But once I left home, everything was done. Cut girl's hair. Dig the sweet potato from the neighbor's house. Peeping at Lao Wang's wife taking a bath. Whistle at the young women in the village. 3 years ago, when the little boy was only 3 years old, he beat Tang Hao's son Tang San and cried for a long time. Old Jack interrupted 2 of the canes. After that, although the little boy had beaten other children in the village, he never beat Tang San again. Apart from Tang Hao's complaint, there was another reason: he couldn't beat him. However, just a few days ago, he ran to the door of the blacksmith Tang Hao's house again and took a pee, only because Tang Hao was drunk and kicked him for no reason while walking on the road. 2 words, naughty. 3 words, bear kid. There are 3 tyrants in Shengun village, geese at the head of the village, dogs on the street, and Duanyun scurrying everywhere. In the village, almost all the adults have filed a lawsuit with the village chief of Old Jack, and Old Jack has not less to educate him, as evidenced by the broken cane in the yard. But the lesson is the lesson, and they just don't change it. It doesn't matter if he doesn't change it. The key is that he was very good when he was at home, so he beat Old Jack's legs and shoulders when he was fine, so that Old Jack couldn't get angry. Smelly boy. Looking at the little boy's back, Old Jack shook his head helplessly. When I rescued you from the wolf's mouth, I didn't see that you were so naughty. The liver hurts. With that, Old Jack went back to the room, only to find a small pot of hot water on the table, and a hip flask in the hot water. Beside, there is a note. Grandpa Jack, I'll give you warm wine. You are not in good health, drink less. This is the wine I make money by selling sweet potatoes. Old Jack's eyes were hot, and he couldn't help but wipe the corners of his eyes. Smelly boy, here's this one again. Nothing to do, there must be no good things, maybe I'm going to do something bad again. After speaking, Old Jack handed the flask under his nose. It's so fragrant. After leaving home, Duanyun trod all the way, and it didn't take long to see the blacksmith's shop in the distance, which was Tang San's home. Duanyun took a deep breath and stopped. Open the system interface to view the current achievement progress. In the next second, a virtual interface appeared in his mind. It's been 6 years since he had just arrived in this world. He just opened his eyes and was almost scared to death. He actually crossed into the wolf's den and became a child still in the swaddling clothes. She's about to be torn apart by the schwolf and fed to the wolf cubs. At that time, it was a dead heart. Why couldn't it pass through? Has it become a wolf cub's lunch? You can also let me cross into a wolf. Just when he was scolding God for being blind, Old Jack appeared, stepping on colorful clouds and waving a carrot. He just saved Duanyun from the wolf's den. Duanyun didn't even think about how Old Jack did it. Maybe he was just fighting hard, or, those wolves were simply huskies posing. After saving him home, Old Jack originally gave him a very loud name, Jerry. That's right, it's Jerry. Duanyun was always called Jerry before he was a year old. Duanyun felt wronged, but he had no choice but to be a mouse for 1 year. Jerry, just because your old man's name is Jack, you gave me such a name? At that time, Duanyun almost thought he had crossed to cat and mouse. Until he learned to speak, he forced the old village chief Jack to change his name. Duanyun was the name of his previous life. Crying if you don't change it, crying for a day as soon as you cry, and it's the kind of crying and pulling out his beard. Old Jack has no choice but to get rid of Duanyun. Ding! Reminder, Achievement System Interface is open. Achievement 1, the Child King of Holy Soul Village, the current progress is 98%. Achievement 2, the Strongest Bear Kid in Holy Soul Village, the current progress is 86%. Achievement 3, the Most Beautiful Boy in the Holy Soul Village, the current progress is 100%. The reward Poisonous Dragon Whip, from The Legend of the Condor Heroes Mei Chao Feng, has been obtained. Achievement 4, the Richest Man in Holy Soul Village, the current progress is 0%. Reminder, after each achievement is achieved, you will receive achievement rewards randomly. After a while, Duanyun shut down the system and went straight to the children outside the forge. The achievement system has only opened 4 items now, and Duanyun has only completed one of them, is the Most Beautiful Boy in the Holy Soul Village. This achievement he did not contribute at all, when he was 3 years old automatically got. To describe it in one sentence, born to be the most beautiful boy, village grass. This is what Duanyun has always been proud of. When he first achieved this achievement, he walked for several days with his nostrils in the sky, and he felt that his whole person was floating, just pretty. Find a chance and beat Tang San again, you should be able to achieve the achievements of the Child King of the Holy Soul Village, but Tang San has now practiced Tang Sex techniques, the Purple Demon Eye and Hidden Weapon. I have practiced, and I don't know if my Poisonous Dragon Whip technique can beat him. If you can't do it, you can think of other ways. In short, you must let Tang San call me the boss, otherwise, the achievements of this Kid King will not be achieved. As for the Strongest Bear Child in Holy Soul Village, am I not a bear enough? Duanyun muttered in his heart, no, I have to find a way to continue to bear it. Today I am considered to be willing to go. If the next few methods are still not achieved, I really have nothing to do. Bear boy, get up. Outside the blacksmith's shop, there were a dozen children gathered, most of whom were 6 or 7 years old, and some were only 3 or 4 years old, who were still blowing their noses. Boss Duan, come on, the stools are all set for you, and then tell us a story. If you don't listen to Cats and Mice today, I want to listen to Snow White and the 7 Big Guys. Woo, I want to listen to Big Wolf eating sheep. Duanyun was surrounded by a group of children and sat on the bench. Cough. Duanyun waved his hand, sit down all, be quiet. Be strong, wipe your nose clean, don't eat it in your mouth. And you, don't bite your fingers. The Child King of Holy Soul Village, the achievement progress is 98%, this is not covered, not to mention the group of kids in front of you, even the teenagers dare not run wild in front of Duanyun. They were all fisted out, dare you not to be obedient? I'm afraid it's owed. Soon, a group of children fell silent. Duanyun glanced around and frowned, where is Tang San? Where is he dead again? After a while, a group of little kids left. Duanyun smiled, took a few steps forward, and hugged Tang San's shoulder. The two were the same age, Tang San was half a year younger than Duanyun, and his height was a bit smaller. Duanyun whispered, Little San, your father has always had a bad temper, is he always angry with you? Tang San, you don't need to worry about this. Duanyun, why don't you let me take care of it? I have always treated you as a little brother, you must take care of it. Treat me as a little brother? I can be your father at the age of 2 lives. Tang San rolled his eyes, a little impatient, hurry up and go home. Duanyun, Little San, I will teach you a song. Go home and sing it to your dad. Make sure that he is crying, and it will be very good to you in the future. Tang San had a meal. For so many years, Tang Hao had been addicted to alcohol. He often stayed drunk. He had a bad attitude towards him. He didn't look like a father at all. Tang San felt wronged in his heart, but he also felt sorry for his father, but he couldn't help it. Hearing Duan Yun's words at this time, although he didn't report any hope, he couldn't help asking, "What song?" Duan Yun smiled, "The song is called Little Cabbage, I will sing it for you." Little cabbage, yellow in the ground, 5 or 6 years old, no mother. It's a good time to live with your father. Ah! When he sang the first sentence, Duan Yun was still laughing, but when he sang the second sentence, his tone had become low and he couldn't help but choke. "When I passed, I was still in a baby. For so many years, old Jack has been feeding him with an urine. Although old Jack is the village head, his family is not rich. All the good food and drink are stuffed on Duan Yun. Old Jack has been dressed for 5 years. I haven't bought a new one. And his parents in the previous life, he died tragically in a car accident that year, his parents must be heartbroken, right? I don't know how the 2 old people are now." At the end of the sing, Duan Yun really couldn't sing anymore. "That's it, I have it for you, remember to gather outside the village in the afternoon." I ignored Tang San, turned around and left. Tang San's eyes were reddish, and he was also infected by this song, and his heart felt bitter. This song really suits me. Or, maybe it can really make my dad treat me better. Even a little bit is fine. With that, Tang San glanced at Duan Yun's back. Tang San also knew about Duan Yun's life experience. He could not help but feel pity for the same illness when he saw Duan Yun choking and sad. Compared with Duan Yun, I am already happy, poor child, hey. Tang San turned around and returned to the forge. At this moment, Tang Hao was leaning on the chair, the hip flask dropped to the ground, his eyes were reddish, and there was a trace of tears in the corners of his eyes. Seeing Tang San coming in, Tang Hao quickly turned his head and wiped away his tears without a trace. "Dad, I'll sing you a song." "Shut up, don't want to listen, go and wash the dishes." Tang San blinked and went to the kitchen aggrieved. "Who is Tang Hao?" "He is the youngest titled Douluo who once crossed the continent." Duan Yun sang Little Cabbage to Tang San outside his house, how could he not hear it? "Hey, I should be nice to Xiao San. But this song, you can't listen to it. You can't let Xiao San look at me and cry, right?" Tang Hao looked in the direction of the kitchen, with a soft color on his face. It seemed that those little kids were going to play at the waterfall outside the village. "Forget it, let them go." A group of little kids, at most, they would churn in the small lake under the waterfall and ran to the shore. It won't bother Ayan when he pee. In the afternoon, outside the village, by the small lake under the waterfall, a group of bear children gathered together, headed by Duan Yun. Tang San stood beside Duan Yun with grievances on his face, obviously still thinking about Little Cabbage. "Little San, what do you think?" An unhappy look. "Duan Yun, did you sing the song I taught you this morning to your dad?" Tang San shook his head. Duan Yun frowned, "I didn't sing? Are you incomplete and can't sing? Or you can't get into your emotions? Life is like a play, it all depends on acting. You can't put your emotions in, you go to green onions." "Green onions?" Tang San glared at Duan Yun, "Let's wipe your eyes, right? 3 years ago." Duan Yun raised his hand and shouted, "Look, there is a waterfall there. Little ones, you are waiting below. Tang San and I will go to the waterfall. Today, I have to check if there is any water behind. Lian Dong. Except for Tang San and me, no one is allowed to follow, and you are not allowed to go up in the future, no? If I find someone disobedient, the waist breaks the leg and the price is discounted." Upon hearing this, all the little kids, including De Zhuang, turned pale. What Brother Duan said, we must listen. "Big Brother Duan, let's cheer you on below. We will be waiting for you below." "Waiting for me below? It sounds a little spooky." Duan Yun didn't talk any more nonsense, and ran to the bottom of the rock wall, intending to climb along the rock wall all the way to the upper reaches of the waterfall. The rock wall is very steep, and ordinary adults do not dare to climb easily. Although it is only about 50 meters high, it must be broken and broken once it falls. Duan Yun, stop! Tang San stepped forward quickly and grabbed Duan Yun's arm. Don't be naughty, just play in the small lake below. The corner of Duan Yun's mouth curled up. Are you afraid of me falling to death? Thank you for your concern. But this kind of stone wall can't help me. Having said that, Duan Yun's wrist shook slightly, and he shook Tang San away. After one ups and downs, he climbed up the rock wall. Tang San was stunned for a moment, and looked at his hand incredulously. He has already cultivated the mysterious jade hand, and the purple magic pupil and the Tang sect Xian Tiangong have not been negligent. Although he just grabbed Duan Yun's arm casually and didn't use his internal strength, he shouldn't be caught by Duan Yun. That little kid broke free. Am I being too careless? Tang San raised his head. When he saw Duan Yun's figure, his eyes widened, and he whispered, "This, how is it possible?" At this time, Duan Yun had climbed to a height of more than 10 meters. The short figure was extremely dexterous on the stone wall, and he was very calm in every step, without any panic in his eyes. This is definitely not a 6-year-old kid. What it should look like. After a while, Duan Yun had climbed to a height of nearly 30 meters. He lowered his head and grinned at Tang San below. Little ones, I'm going in. In the past 2 months, Duan Yun often ran under the waterfall, then picked up the stone and threw it towards the waterfall. From low to high, the stones slam into the waterfall little by little, and then use the sound to judge the location of the cave behind the waterfall. Duan Yun knew the location of the cave long ago. In order to become the strongest bear kid in Holy Soul Village, fight! Duan Yun took a deep breath, grabbed a vine on the cliff, looked for the direction, and slammed forward, and ran into the waterfall like a swing. Seeing this scene, Tang San was startled. Duan Yun, be careful! In midair, Duan Yun's figure directly hit the waterfall, splashing water, and then his whole body was submerged by the waterfall. A few seconds later, the vine came back empty, but Duan Yun had already disappeared. Wow, Boss Duan is in. Is there really a water curtain hole in the back? Haha, I want something delicious, I want soul coins, Boss Duan, mighty. A group of children danced around the lake, shouting in the direction of the waterfall. Only Tang San, with a face full of anxiety at this time, saw him first jumped into the lake, and searched underneath the waterfall. Without seeing Duan Yun's figure, he dexterously climbed up the cliff, and after a while he grabbed the previous vine and swung towards the waterfall like Duan Yun. In the water curtain cave, the light is a little dim. A dark blue plant grows quietly there. This is a blue-silver grass that can be seen everywhere on the mainland. What is surprising is that this blue-silver grass is more luxuriant than the ordinary blue-silver grass, and its branches are also it is stronger, and the leaves are still shining with a faint blue light. It was Tang Hao's wife, Tang San's mother, A Yin. In fact, Duan Yun has always had doubts. When many plants multiply their offspring, they sprinkle seeds in patches. Just like dandelion. When a dandelion flower is scattered, dozens of new dandelions will grow. But why did Tang Hao go out with a shuttle of more than 1 billion, but A Yin only gave birth to Tang San? Tang Hao's shuttle is equivalent to pollen. A Yin's fandom isn't in place? If the fan is in place, why would you have to give birth to a decadent? Back then, A Yin, Tang Hao, and Tang Xiao went all over the world. Because A Yin was the third sister, to commemorate the death of A Yin, Tang Hao named his son Tang San, but Mr. Duan Yun, I feel that this name has another meaning. A Yin gave birth to more than a dozen children that year. The eldest was named Tang Dai, the second was Tang Er, and the third was Tang San. As a result, all the other children died because of being chased by the Wuhan Hall. Only Tang San was left. This is reasonable. Duan Yun complained in his heart, but he couldn't say it. Although A Yin was in the form of a plant, he already had his own mind. What if he understood Duan Yun's words? Bang! With a muffled sound, the water of the waterfall was knocked away, and Tang San rushed into the water curtain cave wet. As soon as he stood firm, Tang San worried, Duan Yun, are you okay? Thank you for your concern, but it's a pity, there is no treasure here, only a blue-silver grass. Duan Yun pretended to walk around Yin. In this environment, the photosynthesis of plants will be very poor, and the soil nutrients in the water curtain cave are not as good as those in the outside world. I really don't know how this blue-silver grass grows. It grows so luxuriantly. Tang San looked at Yin, his body trembled slightly, as if a gentle aura fell on him, and that aura was emitted from the blue-silver grass in front of him. Strangeness. Tang San wondered, why do I have a special feeling for this blue-silver grass, so kind? Yin's leaves trembled slightly, as if responding to Tang San. At this moment, Duan Yun grabbed Tang San's shoulders and said with a smile, illusion, it's totally an illusion. But since we are here, we can't do it in vain, since you look at this blue plant. Yinko is pleasing to the eye, meeting is fate, shall we dig it out? Tang San was stunned for a moment, digged it? Why do you want to dig it? Duan Yun looked at Yin maliciously, the light here is not good, which affects photosynthesis. Forget it, you definitely don't understand such a profound thing as photosynthesis, in short, you dug it out and planted it outside. Find a sunny place and plant it, and then give it a pile of farmyard manure to make sure it grows prosperous. Yin's branches swayed slightly, obviously shocked by Duan Yun's words. Hey, I am a bear kid, so I ask you if you are afraid? Duan Yun grinned, but in other words, he really didn't dare to dig Yin out. What if he accidentally killed Yin? Didn't he become Tang San's mother-killing enemy? Don't wait for Tang San to grow up and seek him revenge, Tang Hao will not let him live until tomorrow. Duan Yun, forget it, it's too troublesome to dig it away, let's just put some farmyard manure on it. Tang San was stunned for a moment, farmhouse manure? It feels disgusting. Duan Yun curled his lips and said, what's so disgusting? Grandpa Jack's cabbage is just using my farm manure. You still eat it. I just brought paper, enough for 2 people, will you come? Come. With that said, Duan Yun ran directly to the side, not evading Tang San, and took off his pants in one hand. What you just said was ambiguous. I ate cabbage, but what you said sounded like I was eating farm fat. Tang San squeezed his nose, I found myself really stupid. I actually played with a bear kid and made some farmyard manure. Duan Yun curled his lips and said, it seems that you are not a bear kid. I'm done. You hurry up, after the farmyard fertilizer, this blue-silver grass must grow better. Does it grow better? Tang San hesitated, took the paper Duan Yun handed over, and then took off his pants. Little San, if the paper is not enough, use leaves, the leaves can also be wiped. Duan Yun grinned and quickly opened the system interface. Achievement 2, the strongest bear child in Holy Soul Village, the current progress is 91%. Awesome! In this wave of operations, the achievement progress has risen from 86% to 91% all of a sudden. This is just a time when the farm manure has been prepared, and Yin has not been fertilized yet. When the fertilizer is finished, the achievement progress will be affirmed. It can be increased by 1 more section, if not, it will be 100% directly. Tang San was also willing to go all out today, and even tossed with Duan Yun. After a while, the farmyard manure was done. The 2 began to fatten Yin. The one above is called a careful one. Achievement 2, the strongest bear kid in Holy Soul Village, the current progress is 98%. Glancing at the achievement progress, Duan Yun felt that anger, isn't it? I have become like this, why is it 98%? Did I really let me dig Yin before giving up? Tang San, Duan Yun, we are crazy enough. It's time to go back, but after going out, you can't tell them that there is a water curtain hole here, lest other children, like the two of us, risk climbing here. What if you fall and die? With that said, Tang San remembered the thrilling scene again, and couldn't help being afraid for a while. Duan Yun, you are kind, don't worry, I know how important it is. Tang San, by the way, Duan Yun, why are you so good? Duan Yun, a year ago, Grandpa Jack gave me my swaddle, it was the swaddle that he wrapped on me when he rescued me from the wolf den. And guess what? There was a piece of paper in my baby girl. I was talented and clever, and I barely learned the movements on the paper, and then it was so powerful, 18th style, great class. Infant? Tang San nodded, didn't doubt anything, the content on that piece of paper should be some kind of cultivation technique, right? It seems that Duan Yun's parents are not ordinary people. Tang San didn't ask any more about the 18th pose of Away, he himself was full of secrets. He asked Duan Yun, if Duan Yun asked him in turn, how would he answer? At this time, Duan Yun was still wondering whether to dig a yin. As for the poisonous dragon whip method as the Away 18th type, there was no pressure on him. 98%, it's almost impossible to achieve, digging? Or not? Actually, digging out is also a good thing for a yin, photosynthesis. Tang De Hammer certainly doesn't understand this. At this moment, with a bang, the waterfall's water curtain was knocked open, and a tall figure rushed in angrily. Here comes, it turned out to be Tang Hao. Seeing the farmyard manure around a yin's branches, Tang Hao's eyes reddened. Tang San, Duan Yun, good deeds of you two bastards. Tang Hao stretched out his big hand, grabbed Tang San's arm, and pressed Tang San directly on his thigh. Then, regardless of the 3721, he slapped his hand and patted Tang San's ass. Bang! Snapped. Tang Hao scolded, let you be naughty, I will kill you bastard. Tang San, ah! Not far away, Duan Yun's face turned white, and he stepped back subconsciously, I wiped it, why did this stinky drunkard come? It's over, I put farmyard fertilizer on his wife, and I urged Tang San to wipe his with leaves. Here I was still thinking about digging out his wife. It's dead, it's dead. Uncle Tang Hao, Grandpa Jack told me to go home for dinner, I'm leaving now. With that said, Duan Yun moved towards the entrance of Shualiandong against the wall. Humph! Tang Hao let out a cold snort, and went straight toward Duan Yun to oppress him. I rub. Duan Yun was taken aback, he felt his head buzzing, and he almost sat on the ground without a butt. I'll clean up with you later. Tang Hao glared at Duan Yun fiercely, then continued to slap Tang San. Bang! Dad, don't fight, ooh, it hurts. If you don't repair a tree, you won't have quality. You must remember it today. Don't I just climb a water curtain hole? What's wrong with this? You eat and urinate anywhere. Dare to talk back. Bang! In the distance, Duan Yun leaned his back against the wall, his buttocks clamped tightly, and his heart panicked. It's over, when he finishes fighting Tang San, he will definitely fight me together. My little butt. Tang Hao's fingers are so thick, I can't help it. Duan Yun looked towards A Yin, and saw that A Yin's branches and leaves swayed slightly, as if he was distressing Tang San, but he didn't mean to stop Tang Hao. Obviously, A Yin also intends to let Tang Hao take care of his son. Duan Yun moved in his heart, and hurriedly shouted, Little San, sing, sing Xia Bai Ke. At this moment, Tang San's was already swollen, and tears burst into his eyes, even if he had an adult soul. The 60-year-old body hurts. Hearing Duan Yun's words, Tang San's eyes lit up, and then he wailed, oh! Little cabbage, Yeter Huang, 5 or 6 years old, no mother, just follow your father, so you can have a baby. Tang Hao's raised hand trembled slightly, and he stopped in the air for a long time without falling. Tang San was overjoyed, thinking that this song worked. Sure enough, Dad still felt sorry for me. Little cabbage, Yeter Huang, 5 or 6 years old. I will let you, little cabbage, I will let you, little cabbage, I will kill you. Bang! Snapped. Tang San was dumbfounded. Duanyun was also dumbfounded. I rub? Doesn't work? Could it be that the emotional investment was not enough and could not resonate with Tang Hao? Duanyun swallowed. Papa, after a few more slaps, Tang Hao threw Tang San aside, then stretched out his hand and grabbed it towards Duanyun. Tang San heaved a sigh of relief. He slumped on the ground and didn't dare to speak anymore, let alone persuade Tang Hao. In short, Tang San can't wait for Tang Hao to forget him. It's best to stare at Duanyun alone. Just hit it. The dead Dao friend does not die, the poor Dao. Tang San, help! Duanyun panicked, and quickly retreated to the side. No one can save you, I will take care of you for village chief Jack. Tang Hao grabbed Duanyun by the collar and started to punch him. Damn it! Duanyun's eyes condensed, and a powerful aura instantly rose to the sky, forcing me to use a killer, right? Okay, take it. Only mothers are good in the world. A child with a mother is like a treasure, throwing into the arms of her mother, happiness is indispensable. It's the most distressing without a mother. A child without a mother is like a grass. If you leave the arms of your mother, where can you find happiness? Duanyun said with a cry, there is only a mother in the world, and children with a mother don't know. Tang San, what are you doing stupidly? Sing with me, 1, 2, 3, sing. Tang San was paralyzed on the ground. Hearing these lyrics, he was instantly taken into it. Before crossing, he was still in his infancy and was discarded by his parents. Tang Lan, the elder of the Tang sect, took him back to the Tang sect and gave him the surname Tang because he was ranked third among the disciples of the outer sect. With the name Tang San. In this life, he was reborn in the Douluo continent. Although he had a father, he had never seen his mother since he could remember. His father also drank alcohol all day and was extremely indifferent to him, and he hardly felt the warmth of his family. As a human being for 2 lives, I have never seen my mother before. Tang San's heart was miserable, and he sang with a trembling, only mother is good in the world. Tang Hao flushed and said annoyed, 2 chicken thieves, you guys did it on purpose and want to make me feel soft? No way. I'll fight. The corner of Duanyun's mouth twitched, and he was about to take a picture of Tang Hao's slap, but at this moment, something unexpected happened. A section of Yin's branches and leaves trembled slightly, and the leaves curled up on a piece of farmyard manure on the ground and flung them directly on Tang Hao's face. Snapped. Tang Hao was immediately stunned by the fat face of the farmer. Oh, I'm going, it's disgusting, Miss Yin did a beautiful job, this song only mother in the world is good has been sung in your heart. Duanyun was overjoyed, took the opportunity to break free, and moved towards the water. The opening of the curtain hole rushed away. Little San, the wind is screaming, will you leave? Waiting to be beaten. Come. Where to find happiness? Whizzing. 2 short figures jumped out of the waterfall one after another, jumped directly from a height of tens of meters, and fell into the lake. At the entrance of the water curtain cave, Tang Hao glanced outside, seeing that Duanyun and Tang San were in no danger of falling into the lake. He couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief, and at the same time he was puzzled, the 2 little boys had the courage. Jump from such a high place? But even though he was puzzled in his heart, Tang Hao didn't have the mind to study it, there was nothing he could do, he was still anxious to coax his wife. Randomly wipe the farmyard manure off his face. Tang Hao came to Yin's side. Yin, the 2 stinky boys sang indiscriminately, don't be sad. Xiao San is still young and not sensible. When he grows up, I will tell him about you. He said that there is an adult soul in my body? Tang San's body trembled slightly, and he looked at Duanyun incredulously. How could it be possible? He knows that I am a traverser? Duanyun, only adults will open their mouths and say I fuck. We are only 6 years old, with sound limbs and disabled limbs, and we don't have that ability yet. Hearing this, Tang San let out a long sigh of relief. What Duanyun said just now really scared him. But having said that, you, a 6-year-old kid, know a lot, right? Disabled limbs? The meaning is very deep. Duanyun took a step closer and asked, to be honest, who taught you this sentence? Tang San narrowed his neck. My dad. Come on. In order to conceal that there was an adult soul in his body, Tang San returned his hand and sold his father. Tang San, Duanyun, I seemed to see a mound of xiang paste on my dad's face just now, isn't it my mistake? Duanyun nodded solemnly, you are wrong. At the home of village chief Jack. Although old Jack is the village chief, he is actually not richer than other villagers. A dilapidated courtyard. Just entering the courtyard gate, the first thing I saw was a wattle hanging on the wall. Tang San, Jing Diao? Duanyun, Grandpa Jack beat you up, right? Duanyun, it depends on whether anyone filed a complaint. Your dad didn't sue me less. I was beaten. Your dad will take the main responsibility. Tang San clutched his forehead, and said helplessly, you pee on the door of my house and wipe your nose on the doorknob. It's pretty good if my dad didn't do it himself. Duanyun said with anger, your dad was drunk and kicked me for no reason. His face was on the ground, and his front teeth were all knocked out, but it's okay. It is said that the enemy should be settled and not settled. Today, I will give your dad a pot of good wine. The previous things are over. Tang San glanced at Duanyun in surprise. It shouldn't be, Duanyun is a famous bear kid in Chengun village. When has he been so generous? After a while, Tang San smiled slightly, this bear kid has grown up and is more sensible than before, and I hope he will not be so bearish in the future. Duanyun hugged Tang San's neck, did you see it? This is the wine I brewed, you taste it first. At this time, the two had arrived in a broken room in the backyard. In the corner of the room, there is a shelf made of bamboo. A pot is placed on one side of the shelf, and there is a stove under the pot. On the other side of the shelf, the bamboo is diagonally downward, and a wine jar is placed at the end. Tang San wondered, what is this? Distillation. Duanyun waved his hand and said, forget it, you don't understand. There are some freshly steamed in that wine jar, would you like a bite? Tang San stared at the bamboo shelf for a long time before turning his head to look at the wine jar. Duanyun took a small bowl, filled out some wine and handed it to Tang San. This room has been empty all the time, and Grandpa Jack will hardly come over, otherwise the wine will definitely not be kept now, he would have drunk it a long time ago. Tang San took a sip, his eyes lit up suddenly. Good wine. Duanyun snatched the wine bowl. Boy, you know what a fart? Do you know what a good wine is? Go outside and find a scoop for me. It's hanging at the gate, the one next to the Jingdiao. Tang San nodded and left the house. Duanyun smiled, with a sly light flashing from the corner of his eyes. He picked up the wine gourd next to him, and then quickly unzipped his pants. Hush! After a while, Duanyun shuddered. Let you drink, let you kick me in the street for no reason. The bear child bears the most grudges, half a pot of boy urine, half a pot of good wine, no thanks. Duanyun lifted the wine gourd and shook it, bear child achievement, 1% of the progress is up to you. Step on. With the sound of footsteps, Tang San walked in with a scoop. Tang San shrugged his nose and frowned, what's the smell? Duanyun, Tian Xiang. Give me a scoop, I will fill your dad with a gourd. After all, Duanyun took the scoop, dug a scoop of wine from the wine jar, and poured it into the gourd. Thanks. Tang San took the wine gourd. Hey? The wine is still warm. Nonsense, boy urine, fresh from the oven, even if it is mixed with wine, it is still warm. Duan Yun, this is for your dad. You are not allowed to drink it secretly, you know. Tang San nodded. Duan Yun, why do you want to make wine by yourself? Also, who taught you this skill? Duan Yun, last year, a wine merchant passed by our Shengun village. I taught him to sing Little 3. He gave me the wine party when he was happy. Tang San rolled his eyes. I believe you a ghost, teach others to sing Little San? It's not bad if people don't beat you, and give you a drink? Duan Yun waved his hand. Our village is too poor. Grandpa Jack is not willing to take a carriage when he goes to Notting City. He only relies on a pair of legs to walk. Widow Wang went to Notting City to sell sweet potatoes. Past. Where did the wine party come from is not the point. The point is that this thing can make the Holy Soul village rich, so that everyone in the village can have a carriage, and every family has New Year's rice. You don't have to worry about the money for the wine. I have already thought about it. I will teach Grandpa Jack how to make wine in a few days, and then Grandpa Jack will gather the people in the village to sell our wine to Notting City or even Tiandu City. Hearing this, Tang San's heart was shocked. A 60-year-old child, a bare child in everyone's eyes, can he think of so many things? Grandpa Jack rescued me from the wolf den. I don't know if I can repay such a great kindness. He always wanted to make the village rich. All the children don't need to wear patched clothes. Every family has a carriage. This wine party, if it is used well, he should be able to realize his wish. Duan Yun smiled slightly, but Grandpa Jack has a bigger wish. Tang San asked subconsciously, what wish? Duan Yun, he hopes that the children in the village will be successful when they grow up. Have you heard of the origin of the name of our Holy Soul village? Tang San nodded. I heard you mentioned it. Duan Yun, that's what Grandpa Jack told me, because we had a soul saint here. When his old man mentioned the name Soul Saint, his eyes were full of pride. I make him proud. Tang San stared at Duan Yun for a long time, only to feel that his heart was touched. Before crossing, he was picked up by Tang Lan, the elder of Tang Sect's outer door, back to Tang Sect. After being sensible, he had the same thoughts as Duan Yun. It's a pity that he used the wrong method, was chased by the head and many elders, and was eventually reborn in this Douluo continent. Tang San showed a look of longing. Grandpa Tang Lan, are you okay? After a while, Duan Yun sent Tang San away. Seeing Tang San's departure, Duan Yun showed a smirk. Tang Da Hammer, let's experience the revenge from the bear kid. At this moment, the Mayor Jack crouched into the yard with a gloomy face. Duan Yun, Grandpa Jack. Village Chief Jack gave Duan Yun a fierce look. Without saying anything, he directly took off the thorns on the courtyard wall and hit Duan Yun with his head and face. Little bunny, make you mischievous, such a high waterfall, dare you to climb it. If it hadn't been for Tang Taijiang to tell me, I wouldn't know about it. Tang San was so behaved, you would have ruined it. Bang! Snapped. Grandpa Jack, don't fight, It's not easy to say anything today. I must give you a long memory, and I will save you someday from falling off the waterfall and falling to death. Bang! In the courtyard, a burst of ghost crying and wolf howling came out. Tang Dawai, Tang Rico, you hurt me again. When you have money, get yourself an iron whip. Duan Yun said to himself, I don't know what martial spirit I can awaken in the future. It is not convenient for me to cooperate with the whip technique. No matter what, I practice first. It is always right to use more methods against the enemy. Slap, slap. The dwarf figure is stepping on weird steps in the woods, and every whip swing will roll up the leaves in the sky. In midair, leaves were flying, and pieces of rubble were also curled up by the shadow of the whip. The rubble was rolled over his head, and then fell from midair, rushing straight to Duanyun and smashing in the past. Duanyun squinted his eyes and hovered the long whip in his hand, blocking the top of his head like an entangled dragon, and easily smashed away the gravel. I don't know if this move can block the stone thrown by Xiao San. I see Xian, after all, I only have moves, and I haven't practiced internal strength like. The long whip rolls upside down. In the next moment, the whip rushed out like a poisonous dragon. The poisonous dragon comes out of the cave. Snapped. There was a whistling sound, and the front end of the whip slammed into the trunk in front of it. The shadow of the whip flew, the cowhide woven whip twitched in the air, making a snapping sound. Twitch. Bang. Twitch again, bang. Poisonous dragon whip comes from Mei Chao Feng in the Legend of the Condor Heroes. It is not a top-notch kung fu, but for Duanyun now it is his only means of attack. If you want to get rid of Tang San and successfully get the achievement of Sacred Soul Village Kid King, you have to count on this poisonous dragon whip technique. However, although Duanyun has practiced the poisonous dragon whip technique, he has not practiced his internal strength. To put it bluntly, he can only move. Without internal power, no matter how fierce the whip is, it is all bells and whistles, and its power is not good. To sum up in one sentence, the whip is very thick and long, but it is strong in the outside world. Even the energy to suckle is used, but only a layer of bark can be smashed on the tree trunk. Don't call it the poisonous dragon whip method, change it to the bells and whistles. If there is internal strength, absolutely every hole. Xiao San has already practiced Xian Tian Gong, and he has Tang sect body skills and hidden weapons. I am afraid that such powers as the poisonous dragon whip method will not be able to defeat him. Don't be soft, he's afraid he won't recognize me as the boss. Duanyun pondered in his heart, then temporarily stopped practicing, turned around and sat down next to a big tree. He had already awakened his innate 10th level full spirit power. Although he hadn't awakened his martial soul yet, he could already feel the spirit power fluctuations in his body. If the spirit power is applied to the whip technique, the power of the whip technique will inevitably become stronger. Soul power is used as internal power. Duanyun's inner soul power slowly flowed away in the meridians, carefully feeling the changes in every part of his body, and feeling the flow and changes of soul power in his body. After a long time, just when Duanyun got acquainted with the spirit power in his body and was about to continue practicing the poisonous dragon whip technique, suddenly a sound of footsteps came from a distance. There is only mother in the world, la 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 la, throw into mother's arms, la 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 la. This singing, Tang San? Duanyun turned his head to look, and saw Tang San coming from a distance at a glance. Tang San lowered his head and walked forward absent-mindedly. Seeing a stone in front of him, he kicked the stone away. Tang San looked worried, and hummed, "There is only mother in the world, la 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 la." Duanyun couldn't listen anymore. "Stop it. If you want to pull it, go and pull it. If you don't bring paper, there are leaves. Pull it away, don't smoke it to me." Tang San suddenly raised his head and looked towards Duanyun angrily. "Are you hiding here? No wonder I did not find you after looking around the village." Duanyun blinked, stared at Tang San and couldn't help laughing. Tang San's cheeks were flushed, and he was obviously slapped. More than that, his walking posture is also very awkward. His is slightly tilted, his legs are slightly diverged, and he twists and twists as he walks. Is he spanked and pinched the root of his thigh? "Mistress, have you been beaten? Your father beat him? Even the root of the thigh? Your father, cruel." Duanyun gave a thumbs up and couldn't help but think of the feeling of being pinched at the root of his thigh by Grandpa Jack, and tears of pain came out. "When I was pinched, it hurts. It's cool to see others being pinched." Tang San, scared for misfortune, right? "It's not because of you. My dad drank the wine you gave, then stared at me and caught me as a fat beating. I was beaten last night. I haven't been relieved in the morning. In the end, I was beaten back again. Can you beat it back? I have only heard of recirculation, but there is such a thing as a recirculation beating? Tang Rico, awesome, worthy of being a father. However, besides the wine reason, I am afraid that there is also the reason why Yin was given Farmyard fertilizer yesterday. Otherwise, just beat it up. How can you beat it back? Duan Yun, wine doesn't suit your father's taste? It shouldn't. The wine I made is delicious. Have you ever drank it? Your dad won't take it in one sip. It's choking, and then he's embarrassed and furious. You have a meal. Tang-san? Nonsense, there must be something wrong with your wine. Duan Yun, where is the problem? Tang-san, I don't know. But if there is no problem, why did my dad beat me? The roots of my thighs are all pinched and swollen. Have no idea? Tang Rico didn't mention the smell of urine in the wine? Did Tang-san get beaten up in a daze? Duan Yun, your dad thinks you are too skinny and owe you to clean up. Tang-san, my skin. Duan Yun, it must be because of climbing the waterfall yesterday. When he beat you, you didn't sing to him, is there only mother in the world? Your dad's heart is softened, and he is definitely not willing to beat you. Tang-san, I sang it. The beating wasn't too heavy at first, but after I sang, the slap strength has become stronger. Duan Yun, how did you sing? Sing it again and let me listen to it. Tang-san gave a light cough and let himself quickly fall into his emotions, even his voice trembling. There is only mother in the world, la 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 la, throw into mother's arms, la la la. Duan Yun was stunned. I rub, that's how you sing? Half of a song came here? You don't really miss the words, do you? Can't remember such a simple word? That's it, what about the protagonist of Nima? Duan Yun hates iron for failing to make steel, it's just you, I'm your dad, and I will beat you too. You have been beaten by you for such a tear-jerking song. You are not crying, you are being beaten. Tang-san is innocent, I didn't mean it, I blamed me for not remembering the words. By the way, my dad went to your house this morning. Me, I rub? Tang Rico went to my house? Duan Yun panicked and his expression stiffened. When you gave him the wine, did you say that the wine was made from me? Tang-san nodded, say it. Play with a hammer. He knew that his son couldn't pee into the wine, it must be the ghost of me, so he didn't mention the smell of pee when he beat Tang-san. He went directly to Grandpa Jack this morning. This must be a lawsuit. My mentality collapsed, and I will definitely have to be beaten again when I go home. Grandpa Jack's thorns always hurt. I just had a meal yesterday, and have to be beaten today? I was also beaten back? Duan Yun shook his head helplessly, committing evil.